Alrighty, guys, welcome into the Dead Talk podcast. This your boy JustCMTexx. Today, I have with me Neo and KGB. Everybody knows these guys from post walk trauma. They just recently won walk, sweeping through, not taking any losses, seemingly not breaking a sweat at all. So I have them in here for the interview afterwards. As I normally do after walk. How you fellas doing today?
Good. Thank you, Tex, for having us.
Absolutely,
I'm doing
absolutely,
awesome. Thanks for having us.
absolutely. So, KGB, man, I'm gonna start off with you, man. I was following you, as walk was going on, and I don't know what got into you, but you just went absolutely psycho with the score. With the scoring, I mean, I think I looked probably like 8 hours in, and you were like already over 1 million. It was nuts. How fast and stuff you were scoring. Has this been like your funnest walk? Because I seen you go absolutely crazy. I think you actually scored the most I've ever seen in the walk that I've been a part of. So, um, how was you able to do that? What was your thought process in coming through with that high score?
So yeah, I would say it's been the most fun walk because actually, like this walk has been the opposite to the previous walk because previous walk was heavy defensive. Some people might argue this was a defensive walk. I would kind of disagree. At least for me, last walk was full of RNG and like heavy defenses,
So
especially
true.
that. Like you had Rosie oranging the second you enter a combat, you had to flee. Like I would argue last walk I played more than this one. And I scored like 1 mil less in the previous walk. And going to this walk, I think I really don't know what to expect defenses wise. I know we had a lot of we prepared a lot of double bodyguard Reginas and stuff. So I didn't know what to expect from others, but like after a few wars, I really got into like into the flow, and I knew what teams to use, and I really like didn't care much about personal score at the beginning because we had a really tight race with BB and Bio. I think there was a point where we were third at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
I really yeah, I didn't care much at the beginning till like 18 hours mark. Then I was like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm gonna sleep, and then gonna come back and continue till continue till the end of the war because like you don't really know if you're gonna score much till you see how much can you score within the first 12 hours because like previous walk at 24 hours mark I only had like 1 mil or something, which is really low. So yeah, this walk has been way more fun for me, at least.
That's good, and especially since you're free to play. I know that. No, I'm just playing. It was fun watching. At first, it was really close. Even though you guys hadn't lost, they were just scoring more. I was looking at it, following it for like the first maybe 5 or 6 hours, 7 hours. They were like ahead. They just had, it seemed like, had better war matching, and they were just scoring more in those wars. But you guys were clearly winning all of your wars as you went undefeated. So I kind of thought to myself, like, you know what, eventually that's gonna catch up. You know what I mean? That's gonna catch up to them. Because you guys were already um winning. So once you start having those head to head matchups, I knew you guys would do well, and it looks like that's exactly what you did. Neo, to you, man, congratulations on you guys' victory. What do you think was like key factors with you winning walk in RTS? Like, what do you think was some of the key factors and all, for you guys to be able to
Um,
win?
well, all right, hold on. Before I answer that, I just want to say KGB is being too humble. I seen this guy.
He really is, yo.
Yeah, I seen this guy prepare for the walk. Like we were on calls. I seen him duel. I played with him for almost almost close to like 4 years now, I think. And I think this walk, like you can tell, like he just wanted to do like really, really well. Like I've never seen him duel as much. Like just being honest. Um, he went through the faction and like he kept on asking me and like Steve like I need more newer defenses, like tell people to switch up the defenses so I can get more practice in, like 'cause people defenses are similar and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just really motivated, and I think that showed, right? Like when you were saying like his score, like I think at like the 12-hour mark, I think he had like 1 mil or whatever, and we were talking about it. And I was telling him like he can probably push for like 4 mil if you can keep this up.
Yeah.
But obviously, like he had to get some sleep and all that in between. So like, and obviously you can't keep up like the same speed all throughout like 48 hours, matchmaking, whatever, like stuff comes into factor. So fatigue. But yeah, I think like it's like I think he set the highest score records, and I think it's like he worked hard for it, right? Like I think
Mm-hmm.
it really shows. Like I think he knew like going into it, like he knew exactly how to attack every defense out there, like every possible combination, and like he was one of the guys who like basically taught the faction like how to like combat certain tricks and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's kudos to him, to be honest. You really like stood out this walk and did really really well. Um, as for your question, what helped us with the walk win? I'll just say preparation. Like anytime you're basically like any type of like competitive sport, like it's a team sport, right? Like you're playing any sport, any game. If there's a bunch of players, you got to work as a team. So I think just preparation wise, I think the leaders in the faction, so like KGB, Steve, Mandy, Pi, myself. There's some other members in the faction who are also doing like team building with us as well, like Skiddo, Burlsy. Um, I'm forgetting other names right now.
Damn,
So
I forgot
I'm
Burlsy still play. He's good too.
yeah. So I think there were certain other players like who were like shooting off teams with us and stuff like that. They'll like drop us teams and be like, "Hey, how, will this work?" kind of deal. And yeah, so I think we just did like a lot of team building, and I think that's just like every walk, like because you see like like you might see the game from your perspective, I might see it from my perspective, five other people might see it from their different perspective, and like so like when you see how what they're thinking or what their ideas are, you kind of take all the ideas and you kind of put it all together. um you test out like the variation, see what works fastest, and you go with it. So like I know there's like a lot of joking in the faction, like or amongst the leaders, like, oh, KGB built that team, or Pi built that team, or Mandy built that team. But then it's like in the end, it's like like whatever teams we do come up with, it's like a little bit of idea from like some every person, like like pitched in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just testing it out, like just testing it all out. I think like every walk, like we just go through like this whole process of finding like what's the fastest attack possible for like say like whatever the meta defense is at the time. Like, so we try to focus in. Like this time around, it was Regina,
Yeah.
Mackenzie, excuse me, and what was the other one? I'm forgetting now. Oh God, it's already been so too long. The new leader that came out, I guess,
Magna.
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 Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess like those are like the three ones, and yeah. So we just we just try to have like an attack team that kind of like tackled everything for like Regina's, and then maybe another one that tackled everything else, and in between, and yeah. So
Yeah.
just working through those is what helps, I guess. And also at the same time, like like offense obviously helps because we had to like build out the defenses too, because we had to figure out how to counter, like the best way to counter, like like that what we expected the top competitions to be using. So I guess for us it was like we went with like a lot of meme resist, for like because we were thinking they might be using Mercer, for instance.
I seen that, and I have the data.
Yeah,
I have the data too as well. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
definitely.
So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so like certain things, like like, and then certain ways to mod it. Like you either go like double stat defense HP, or you go double defense versus traits. So like whatever you feel is like the best way to go. And every tune's kind of different. Like so you kind of just figure out like what the best resist mods are and all that stuff. So yeah, so it's just the whole process, man. Like it's like, and I don't think one person can take credit for it. It's like everyone just kind of pitches in.
Mm-hmm.
When like it's hours and hours of like everything. Like every time I would wake up, I see like the leaders chat just like has like 500 messages trying to catch up with like all the ideas. People are just bouncing off each other, or like so it's like just trying to catch up on everything and figure out in the end like whatever we roll with is like works out or not. So and it did, thankfully. So yeah.
Yeah, you guys definitely had a good obviously you had a very good plan in place because it worked out as well. But also too, you can kind of tell that you guys have very strong camaraderie. And there's no
Yeah.
way to be successful in this game if you don't duel in your faction, or if your faction's not willing to help you out with some of the best ideas. Because some people have big balls, right? They want to be the ones that only do this, and they have like certain teams they won't even share within the faction, right? But then at the end of the day, we all lose, right? Because if you the only one with the team and we're in the war together, I got the tunes, but I don't have the team concept, right? I may have a
Yeah.
different team, a different variation. You may know a mod to put on that will help with a different variation. If we're not sharing those ideas, then we all lose. And I think that's what happens within certain factions, that people don't want to share ideas and stuff like that. And it's not enough duels going on in order for
Yeah, for
everybody
sure. I
to
mean,
get better. You gotta play the
yeah,
game in order to get better, so
yeah, for sure. Like I think the biggest thing is like, especially anyone who's played at this top level or anyone who's played with us. I don't know how the other factions run, but for us, like every time for like the last 3-4 years, basically been doing like Discord calls right before walk or even like leading up to walk and stuff, and just going over teams. Like whenever we do finalize the offense teams, for attack, or like we just basically will do a lot of streams on Discord and just go over attacks and whatnot, and that's basically how you prepare, so you can see how the fastest players in the games are attacking, and you pick up on it and you learn from it. Like like it's just that visual
mm-hmm.
um thing that you can see and like ask questions right away, like why do you do that, where you do that. And like myself, I learned a ton from like KGB, Mandy, Steve, Pi, like anyone who's done the streams and stuff. Like you can always like ask questions, or even they'll like correct you and stuff. So like, oh, like don't do that, like like because like, if you played RTS long enough, like if you like in almost every meta, like if you once you enter a match, like you kind of already like have it in your head like how you're gonna attack like the
Mm-hmm.
turn one, and if you can set up the turn one properly, like then you kind of like the rest of the way is just like pretty simple, like when it comes to attack. So just setting up like that turn one and knowing who to attack first, or like who to do what first, who you got to control, who you got to like normalize or whatever, like just little things like that. Just once you figure that out, then I think it helps. And obviously like having like playing with like the same group of players helps a lot, because like they become like you get to know one another, right? So you
It's
build
true.
up that, yeah, you build up that what's the word, I think
Camaraderie.
yeah, camaraderie, or yeah, just like that relationship, so you kind of know
Mm-hmm.
like each other's weakness or strengths are, so you help each other out.
And that's
Yeah,
the
so
beauty and that's the beauty of being together for years. You know what I mean? You guys been
yeah.
playing together for such a long time, so it's kind of like it's almost like the Michael Jordan and Pippen effect. You know what I mean? If I have a day
Yeah, for
off,
sure.
my other, the Jordans or the Pippins can be able to pick up the slack, so we can, get to that best season and win the championship. So I
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
understand that, and you could just tell, that the camaraderie is there. You know what I mean? Because I think this y'all
Yeah, man.
guys' second year in a row winning walk
Like,
and not losing. That's remarkable. So
yeah, I think it just like that obviously speaks to the factor of like how much preparedness we were, I guess, like what the preparedness level was for the faction.
hmm
Because I mean, 'cause, like throughout like the walk season, like no one really cares. Like at least we don't really care. Like I mean, come on, like a faction name was like post walk trauma. Like like we just like people didn't care enough. Like it was just like I don't think you've seen like KGB doing even like a million or whatever during like the qualifier. So it's like
yeah,
people just like show up for walk. There's like a lot of players who just
that's
take
why it was
walk qualifier.
shocking. I'm like, damn, almost 4 million. Like, where was this at? Like, I've never seen.
Yeah.
It just went crazy. So that was good. That's some good stuff, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I think he's like what 3.19 mil or something, which is
Mhm.
insane, especially at a walk level. Because like normal CRWs, you can do like the 3 mil, but then
Easily, yeah, but you're
like
fighting some of the
you
top
got, like
defenses in walk.
yeah, exactly. Like you might not have like the best competition like in the normal CRWs, so you get the easier defensive. You can farm with Danny and stuff and get the easier points.
Yep,
um,
absolutely.
so yeah,
So
but I
yeah,
mean, still like it takes a lot of like credit. Like anyone who does it, it's like you're spending a whole bunch of your time on the weekend to get that done. So it's like it's kudos to anyone who does it in this game. It's crazy. Like I've never been able to do it. I think my highest is like 2 point something. So
mm,
which is like I'm pretty happy with it. Like that just can't commit the time to go for that type of score whatever it is.
yeah, absolutely. KGB, a question for you. What challenges did you face during walk? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome and everything with getting your 3.1 million? I know last year you said that you were on pace, you did more, but it was because I guess like networking issues and some other stuff as far as like RNG played a role in that. What kind of separated it this time, and how were you able to like get through that adversity?
I mean, my biggest challenge is during a walk for anyone who commits like a long weekend during walk. It's the biggest challenge is always sleep. Um, you usually get tired like at a certain mark. You just lose focus. You get triggered easily at anything that happens on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Internet this time was way better for me because I finally decided to use data, which helped. Um, and I think overall my biggest challenge wasn't like really a challenge, but was frustration at the beginning. How matchmaking wasn't really being on our side because I think whoever gets bioed first is usually the one that gets screwed over earlier. We matched bio, I think, like 3 times or something like at the first 12 hours, which was crazy for us because like there is a point that you want to build lead and or like catch up. It was a difficulty for us, which was like the frustration at the beginning and how everyone like was kind of frustrated by that. Like when you think you're gonna have a good match or like BB or like an easy faction, you just end up matching Biohazard or Alpha Sims again. Then you're like, damn, I guess we're gonna do that again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I don't think I have had any other like difficulties during the weekend besides sleep. And shout out to my mom. She actually managed my whole diet for the weekend. She
That's good.
did actually help me pick the meals, so I didn't have to think much about what I'm gonna eat. So yeah, shout out to her.
Yeah, that's really good, and that's what I mean. Like the preparation is definitely a match. We definitely gonna miss you. Are you guys actually retired this time, or will there be a don't call it a comeback again? Like, are you really retired, or
Yeah, yeah. For me, at least, I can 100% say I'm not intending or planning coming back to RTS. Um,
mm-hmm.
as- because like without going into details, I have a lot of things coming up in my life, and I think I rather focus
On
on
those?
my own self. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
other than like focusing on a game that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna say dying, but there is no point at this point to compete or waste your time um, in Tortias, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I can understand that because you've won. You've been at the pinnacle. You know what I mean. You've been at the pinnacle for a while, so um, and it's not changing. It's not like they don't get me started. It's not like they are doing the stuff we ask when it comes to updating the game and doing the things necessary to make the game engaging. So that's a whole nother concept, a whole nother time, whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
for me, I don't like. I hope I'm retired, like, because I've been playing this game for so long.
It's
Um,
addicting, man.
yeah, it's like one of those addictions. You just gotta break it, right? So, I really do hope that I don't come back to this game. Like, it's just because I've been playing at the top level for so long. Like, I think I picked this game up. Like my closest friends knows. Like when I picked this game up, like back in 2015, like when it first launched. I was literally like, I was literally in the hospital with my mom essentially because she was battling cancer at the time. So, like, this game basically was like a getaway from like all the real life stuff that was going on at the time for me. And I think over the years, it's just like, I just kept on playing it. Like, it was like the first mobile game that I played, and just kept with it at the time. Eventually, like, met all these great players and whatnot. So just being competitive, like, it's like what, gonna be close to like 9 years, I guess, in like a month from now. Which is crazy because like you don't tend to realize it, but like the time has kind of flew. Like, people like 9 years is a long time if you think about it, Text, like to commit to something for
Yeah,
like this long at a
especially a
competitive
mobile
level.
game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
especially a mobile game. Yeah, like it's crazy because like put aside all the factor of like how much money you got to spend to like be competitive at the top.
oh
Like
my
just nine
god,
years
bro.
into anything is like crazy because people don't even have relationships for like 9 years. Like like how many people actually stay together for like 9 years or whatever, right? So it's insane. Like so I don't like I really hope like there's like no one like tempts me to come back or whatever because I'm really trying to just break this habit and just focus on other things in life, like KGB said, just like just want to focus in. Like I have like a lot of stuff that are going on that in my life too. So just want to focus in on all that stuff. Work, relationships, family life, everything else that's not RTS, that should be given priority. So yeah, hopefully, you both stay retired and you guys enjoy like the next generation picks up the mantle and enjoys this game for what's left. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely can see that because RTS the way it's structured, right, especially with like CRWs and things. This is why I've been pretty much an advocate for less wartime. It's because you know you do get voices where it's like, well, I know CRW's 48 hours, but you really don't have to war 48 hours. But the reality is when you're in the top faction and like you're one of the best players in your faction, you really don't have time off. You see what I'm saying? Like you can't just not be there because you're getting pinged all the time. Like it's like, oh, these people are catching up. We need the hitters on. So I know people say, oh, CRW's 48 hours, but the reality is you really don't get those type of breaks. Like, listen, KGB's like his mom's preparing meals for him and getting like this.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's the type of dedication you have to have with RTS to be at the top, to be the best. And most people are
Yeah.
not are are not doing that. So I definitely get it's very, very time consuming.
That's the thing.
Day
Like
to
I
day.
really enjoy. Like I think like I wish I got to enjoy this game as just a player, like not as a leader. Because for the
Mm-hmm.
longest time, like ever since I played, like going back to 5 star days, I was always a leader in some capacity. Whether I'm co-lead or the lead of the faction, it's like I've always been that person. So it's like, like because when you're a leader of a faction or for any type of top faction, there's so much more to that goes into it. Like it's not just the wars. Like you obviously you gotta be there for the faction during the war. You gotta like because I've always been in the mentality that like if I'm leading, then I gotta show up and lead by example of sorts. So whether that's
Mm-hmm.
war, whether that's like just keeping the whole faction going with like anything that's needed, like helping out, like team building and all that stuff. Um, and like like the day that I don't want to do it anymore, I'm not gonna be a leader. So I'm not, no, like that's why I'm just like, yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like doing it anymore. Just totally lost that whole passion, and
It's a
so
lot
yeah,
of
it's
work.
just it mentally drains you out. Like it literally does age you. It mentally drains you out because you know how RTS community is. You are a content creator. You've
Oh
seen
Lord.
Discord. You've seen line
Everything.
chat.
Line chats. Oh my
In
god,
everything in
bro.
between, and like the players are very passionate, but at the same time when you are a leader of a top faction, there's a lot of egos, and there's a lot of egos that you got to manage as a leader because like like just take a walk for example. I'm pretty sure like anytime you're a top faction in the top faction, and like the whole topic comes up of like whenever there's a walk you got to stack or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta piss off. Like, how many people are you gonna put on the stack, right? If you put
Mm-hmm.
15 people on the stack, there's 15 other people who've spent all this money, and and like whether they're not able to hit fast or whatever reason, you're not putting them on the stack. for like whether they haven't dueled enough or whatever it is. Obviously, they're not going to be happy, right? So how do you manage all that, right? Like it's a lot of managing like personalities, I would say, like as leader, and like obviously there's because you got to do that. You got to focus on your duels. You got to focus on building teams. It's like all the extra stuff, right? As leaders, just it's crazy, man. Like I don't wish this upon anyone. I don't know how the other factions do it, but I think we just always did it like too
Like,
crazy. Like,
yeah, like
we
I'm a
just did
leader
it.
in my faction now, and like you're saying, man, it's managing attitudes and managing personalities, and you know
And
what
even
I mean.
recruiting too, right? Like the game's
Recruiting,
kind of
oh
like
my god, bro.
games in the downturn, right? Like recruiting players, it's a big deal in this game. Like after every walk, there's a lot of players who retires.
Yep. And
And
keeping
it's
your
just been
best
retired.
players is what's really hard. Like keeping those guys can hit 1.5,
Even
2
keeping yourself
years.
motivated, like
Yeah.
like not getting that burnout. Like I think we've all been through that burnout, whether in life or like this game or whatever it is, because you can't just go 100% every time at like whatever you're doing. Eventually, you're just gonna burn yourself out. So you just gotta step away and like do stuff eventually. I think the best thing is, at least for me, it was like finding a good group of people who like as promote them as leaders, so they take on the responsibilities. So I think that kind of helped a little bit and extend out like my RTS whatever career or whatever it is,
Yep.
just because
And you
once
can
like Mandy
trust
came
them not
along,
to. You could
yeah,
trust them not to
exactly,
crash the
yeah,
faction.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah, that's exactly what happened, right? Because I mean, like once Mandy, KGB, Steve, Pi, like those guys came along in like the last 4 years or whatever, um, it was fun because I can just hand stuff off to them, and be like, all right, here, this is what you guys got to do. Just I'm there, but like I don't have to do as much or whatever. Prior to that, it was really tough because initially, like I was kind of like just doing it all by myself with like one or two other leaders, and when those guys took off, like during like the 6 stars or whatever, then it was just kind of like myself, just figuring stuff out, doing all the recruiting, doing everything else on my own. Then got another group of people in like Sly, Sam, who were helpful at the time, but then like they only lasted throughout like a year and a half of like at the top level of leading. I think they got burned out, and they were like, as soon as we won that first walk, they were like, all right, we're out. Like we don't want to play anymore. So yeah, it's just replacing people over and over again. So it's like building up that good group. I think that was the most fun part, like having like that same group for like a little bit of time, for a few years. I think it was good.
Yep. Because I myself was gonna retire, but
Yeah,
Aria
I
and
heard,
a
I heard
couple
some rumors
people,
about that.
yeah,
Yeah, I heard some
they
rumors
talked
about that. Yeah.
me out of it because it's just like after a while you just get tired. You know what I mean? Like me, and it's for us because like we actually really do love RTS because we play the game, and
Yeah.
like we actually really do play the game. We're not talking about like casually picking it up and then playing like maniac play, trying to find teams, trying to find counters, trying to find the best weapon combos, and like that stuff is fun. The numbers, the analytics, how high could we get a attack tunes, attack stats, with different combinations in teams and stuff like that. So like you put a lot of work into it and you want things to last, but the only thing that's really worth it or left in RTS is war. It's
Yeah,
like you
and
said,
I
it's
think
on a
that's what makes
downtrend. Yeah.
I think that's what makes RTS unique too, right? Because I think you can pick up any mobile game and it doesn't have that war aspect, so it like you don't stick with it, right? Like you play it, you do the grinding for like the linear whatever progression for whatever amount of time, and then you're like, okay, what's next, right? And RTS has like that war aspect where you can just go head to head with like 8 people or 6 people or whatever, and play across like 48 hours, which I think is just too long at this point. Should be like 24 hours, but yeah, just I think that's the fun aspect of it, right? Like because like the most fun mobile games are when you're playing with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah.
And that's how it is. Like, so for example, like in Marvel Strike Force, like war is 2 days, right? But you only get like 4 attacks. So once you
Right,
finish your
right,
4 attacks, guess what? That's it.
yeah,
It's over with. You could go on
yeah,
about your life. RTS not like that. Like you have to keep playing RTS. You know what I mean? And then if people start
yeah, for
catching
sure.
up, so. But it's been absolutely fun having you guys around and talking with you guys. I got to know you guys a little bit behind the scenes as well. you know, there's always a lot of rumors out there about, you know, you guys being psychopaths, but I haven't come across that, you know. So I you know what I mean. We talk all the time, so I think you guys are pretty chill, pretty
I
cool, and
mean,
stuff like that,
well,
you know. So
I don't know. I might be, but whatever. Like, because I always tell people, like, no, like, the thing is in life, like, if you're competing, right? Like, if I'm playing something, like, if I'm gonna spend all this money on something, why am I not gonna go for first? Like, I can't
Yeah.
have that mentality that I'm gonna go for second. Like, like
Nope.
that doesn't work with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, like I was just raised that way. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna be competing in anything, I want to be first at it.
Man,
Like,
I don't let
that's,
nobody
that's just,
win. My kids, none of
like,
that.
yeah,
Wife, none of
yeah,
that. None of
exactly.
them winning.
I
We
gotta
in
have that Kobe
competition.
mentality, man. I gotta have that Kobe mentality in me. That's what it is, right? So
I am. If you want to see me turn into a killer, play something against me. Like I'm just. I remember my son, him and his friends, like, oh, we good at Destiny. We could 1v4 you and Crucible. I fucking destroyed them. He was like, I didn't know you was this good, Dad. Yeah, until you play me. I seem
right.
nice when I'm on your team, but when you go against me, son, it's you. I'm decapitating you and your friends. No mercy.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
I definitely get that. And I know you guys are on the back end and everything. Like you said, you on retirement. Winning walk is definitely an accomplishment. You know, what advice would you give to aspiring players who want to improve their skills and compete at your current level? Those other factions, you know, the 11s, wink, wink, up to the 20s who are trying to push up into that top 10. That's still competing
Um,
at a high level.
I, I think there's like there's no secret formula, to be honest. I think you just gotta be hungry enough to want it. Like, because I mean, like, even KGB, I think he will attest to this. Like, he was a good player when he joined us, but he became a great player afterwards because he picked up a lot of like skill sets. Like, he understood the game a lot better. Like, just from chatting or playing together and stuff. So I think, just sharing ideas, like, is probably like the best way, I would say. Because even like myself, like, the player that I was like 5 years ago is not the player that I am today, or even like the player I was like last year. Because you just keep on adding stuff to your arsenal, right? Like, it's like
Mhm.
you learn something from everyone a little bit, like, and you pick up on the little things. And what sucks with this game is that there's not really any top players who shows off like the information, I guess, the knowledge.
That's
I think like
true.
the knowledge doesn't get passed on, right? And I think that's what really hurts this game, because there's that gap. Like, I always talk about this, like, with like a lot of like people that I chat with in like the community. Like, there's like that understanding gap in this game where, yeah, like, everyone spends like, and like, we've had players who join us from like, say, like the Smith region or whatever, and like, like, obviously they might be spending a lot more than myself or whatever, but at the same time, it's like there's that understanding gap is not there. And I think that's what you gotta fill in, like, as the faction. Like, you just
Mhm.
gotta
You
do
need good
what you
team
can.
builders.
Yeah, you just need people to like share ideas. Because I think, like, if you get like 10 people sharing 10 different ideas, you work it out and you figure out what works, and you implement that. And yeah, I think it's just because it's a team concept, right? So as long as you're like sharing stuff out, it should be good. I don't I don't know if there's any other recipes to like success other than just hard work. You do it. The one thing that I always preached was try to get like duels down to like 30 seconds or less. And you basically, if you know you're gonna be able to beat something, like let's go back. Like, any meta, right? Like, let's just go back. Like, let's break it down to the most simplest form. Like, if we're tackling any meta right now. Say Regina. Regina's the defensive meta. Say there's been like 10 tunes that's come out in the past, whatever, like 3 months or 4 months or whatever, that are like defensive tunes that I'm talking about. There's maybe, so like, and then you have maybe like another 5 that's like sort of useful from like previous, whatever, before that, whatever. So that's like 15 different defense tunes, right? So you can pull out an Excel sheet essentially, and you can basically say, Regina's going to be the leader. I'm going to put like 4 other tunes around her, and then this is what I'm going to do, right? So basically you can make a bunch of combinations of defenses, right? And then you basically attack those defenses. So you have freaking like 50 plus slots. You build up like 5, you use 5 or 10 of those slots, build up your teams. You just duel it. Like, if other people don't even have the tunes, you can duel it yourself. Figure it out, like, and then once you're dueling yourself, like, you can just time it. You time yourself, see if you're able to beat those defenses in like 30 seconds. Like that's usually like the standard at the top. Like if you can beat it in 30 seconds or less. If you're beating in 45 seconds, that's pretty good, in my opinion, depending on if it's a big defensive meta or not. I don't know. But it varies. And then you just try to do it 3 times in a row. Like, if you can beat the same exact defense 3 times in a row within that time frame, and like, then I think you're pretty good. Like, you're gonna be at like near the top-ish speed wise, and after that is just getting the muscle memory right, I guess. Like, you just practice enough that like exactly what you're gonna do. Hitting that X3 and auto a lot. I think auto helps a lot of players in the top level, just knowing when to auto it.
So yeah,
So
that's some good stuff. Good stuff, man. And like I said,
can I add something to
yeah,
that?
absolutely,
Sorry.
absolutely.
I mean, I would argue big part of it is also spending because what they say, like every top player is a spender, but not every spender is a top player, right?
True.
I think people miss out on the details, like because yeah, tunes are gonna help you build the teams, but doesn't mean the teams are gonna be good because there is a defense that I can just use Danny and win within 5 seconds, and the same exact defense I might take like 30, 40 seconds just based off the mods and weapons. It only takes one mod to make your attack absolutely useless. Like for reference, I think people we might have like overdone the main mods. We had like 15 main mods or anything something. But looking at Mercer, for example, if you don't have a main mod, your defense is gonna die within like 20 seconds or 15 seconds. The attack, the tune is crazy. Like people underestimate how crazy he is.
Yep.
With if you mix him up with the right team. So, for example, Regina, how I modded my. If someone took a closer look at like any of our Reginas, we had like proper weapons, proper mods to make you take as long as possible. I think looking at the defense, it was like Carl Umid double bodyguard or like
Yep.
Noor Umid double bodyguard. It's not crazy. It's not something that's gonna kill you. Who is gonna kill you on that defense? It's just something to slow you down because on average.
And keep healing. So as you get it down, the healing's going back up as well too. And there's so many effects that go into that as well too that people don't pay attention to, when you synergize them. So
Yeah, like the defenses that you put like crazy tunes that might kill you are properly like gonna die. Like on average, I could beat Regina's on 3 turns, which shouldn't be as possible like against my defenses we have up in PWT, because those defenses are just built to stall. Like there is nothing like no magical attack for it. You just have to be patient to a degree. Like you have to accept the fact that it's gonna take you 4 or 5 turns. But it really showed the difference in mods when people started copying them. No, I can still turn 3 those defenses. Like they are so weak that I just can kill like 3 turn 1. So I think the details are like the key part. Again, I'm talking about like for people who have every single tune but want to compete at like the highest highs. I'm not talking about because I think it's at the current state of the game, it's really easy to break into the top if you have like the tunes or any attack team that works fine. But to beat like a proper defense, I think you need to look into details of the defense and your attack and how you would make your attack. Sometimes the attack is not really obvious. I have been using the same exact attack for 2 years now, so it's crazy to think about sometimes.
yeah, that's the crazy part when we talked about it. And like for those who don't know, the attack we used 2 walks ago to win, we used almost similar attack this walk again to win. So it's so it just goes to show you, like, you don't need the new attack tools. It's just you just gotta know how to hit it right.
but that's the problem. The problem is people don't know how to attack. So I know you guys probably use a different team. This is one of the teams I used because a lot of people didn't go against Burn and Bleed. Like nobody, like I think everybody was trying to like go against like normalize resist and some form of main, right? But people wasn't attacking against or preparing properly against Burn and Bleed. I just burned and bled them out. Like
Yeah.
I had a
I
team
mean, that's
with
always
Mercer on
that's
there,
always
and Mercer. My lead was I think it was I think it's Job. Job gives you that extra 50% attack for yellow tombs. So
yeah.
I had Mercer, Job, um, Zachary, Akira, and Eva, and just was burning and bleeding them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then finishing them up with Mercer, especially, and it was quick because you know what I mean. And it just
When,
like people wasn't protecting against it, so you really can't use older tunes, but you just have to know what it is that you're doing. And most
yeah.
people don't actually know how to play the game. They really don't. They just listen to what somebody says, or they'll see something and they'll copy it and think that it'll work. Like I seen some Regina teams. I'm like, this team is stupid. Like, why would you put these players with Regina? And but they had the other players that was needed for a Regina team on other teams. So it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you guys were saying, it's just that matter of learning how it works and rotates and stuff.
Yeah. So I think when the Mythics came out, like to your point, what you're saying with like Burn and Bleed, for example, like we started getting all this crazy damage over time tunes. So
Yeah.
like Zachary was like the first one, I think. And then we ended up getting like Akira or
I still
whatever.
remember that meeting, bro. I
Yeah,
still
and
remember that meeting.
yeah, it's just it's good. It's going on. I mean, there's still other tunes out there. I don't use them personally, so I don't even look at them, to be honest with you. But
Mm-hmm.
I always know, like, when I'm setting my defenses, that I gotta I gotta counter it somehow. So like there's certain things, you can put like the certain weapons, you can put the certain mods. I think
Yeah,
for us,
it didn't work
especially
against
this
you
walk,
guys. So I just want to let you know
yeah,
that that
yeah,
didn't
for
seem
us
to.
this walk, I think we knew, like, because we knew like the defenses are tanky, right? Like let's just be honest. Like when the defenses are tanky, how are you gonna beat it? Like if you're not gonna do actual damage, you're gonna try to cheapen it out by doing burn
Mm-hmm.
um or infection, right? And I don't know if there's. I mean, there might be one tune that's. I don't want to give it away, but there might be one tune that might be able to do the infection, but yeah, but otherwise, like burn, obviously you have the cure, so you can't really do much against infection because we don't have like the infection resist mod or anything like that, or tunes
Mm-hmm.
that like kind of counters infection right now at this point in this game. But or even like some of these, I don't think infection is even that viable. Maybe outside for like, yeah, because
Not if you're
most of them
trying to
don't
30
do.
second a match. You
Yeah,
can't.
because most of them don't do large amount of infection, anyways. But since the mythic stats are so crazy, like the burn and bleed is basically insane. In terms of like if you're using the right teams, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
I know like because when we went down to like play at like a lower level, I think a lot of factions do rely on at like the mids and lower levels to like get those infection. Sorry, like the burn and bleeds going a lot. And so I mean, like we just wanted to counter it. Like I think for us, the two main mods this walk we push for were the burn resist and maim resist. And if we had like tunes, for example, like say like Lock was in there, and Lock had like the 100% damage over time, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
built into his kid.
Princess on another
Yeah,
team too as
yeah, and
well.
then the princess weapon was one of them for another one. Um, I can't remember what the other things were. I think Stars had the default weapon.
Stars,
For
yep.
yeah. So I mean, there were a couple of options. I think there's a couple of options right now in this game that you can counter burn with, either the weapon or the actual kit itself of the tune. So just placing those things into like the actual strategically into the defenses that you do build, and just being mindful of it. That way you can kind of just shut out burn, and if you can't do it, then you just put on some burn resist mods.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty much all you can do, really. Like so, and you hope that you don't get cheesed out by it. And obviously, like the other thing I think you mentioned is like people not knowing what tunes to put behind who or whatever, or what weapons not to use, like KGB said.
Mm-hmm.
Because like mods and weapons, like you can copy it, right? Like you can copy whatever. Like when WOC starts, obviously factions, like if someone thinks, hey, that's a good defense, they're gonna copy it because they're gonna see it and they're like, okay, I'm not doing so well versus it. Let me just copy it, right? And it happens every walk, right? Like we've all done it. Um, it happens every walk, and there's nothing negative about it. But the details are in the mods and the weapons, right? So if you don't look into the details, then you're not going to be able to do that. And the other part is if you're copying something, right? Like if you're copying KGB's defenses, I think I heard he said everyone copied his newer defense. So I think he had newer behind Regina. And I was like, okay, but then I find like all the newer defenses easy because I think majority of the people didn't copy like his weapon or whatever. Because like when you're in WOC, like you don't have time to like craft the weapon, like or you might not have that exact weapon ready, right? And then what, like are you really gonna go around and changing up all the mods like while you're trying to WOC or whatever? So it's just it's there, it's there, but you gotta have like those little things because like let's be honest, we all have the same tunes like at the top level. It's just the weapons and mods and how you put them together. Is what separates the players' defenses out, I guess. Yeah.
So I have like online teams I use, and then I have offline teams that I use. And at first I was struggling with Eris. I don't know why. Like I was attacking her with Eva, and this piece of shit just kept. She just kept like she would not normalize. I was like, oh, I got something for your ass. So I put Craig in there, just wiping him out, man. He was so fucking good, bro.
Eris is I think like let me see. I can give this tip out, I guess, because I'm not even playing this game anymore. I think Eris, the best way to go about Eris, personally for me, what I've found is I don't want to quote the wrong weapon. Let me see. It's that weapon that they just added to the is the Holiday Rocket Spear.
Yeah, I got that. I used that so with the Impair the Line. Yeah, I used that. Ransack. Yes.
So,
I was using it.
So I think as long as you have good like I think I would say maybe like crit and crit mods on Eva and use that weapon, pretty much I think Eris you can normalize it like at a pretty high clip.
You know what it is? It's for me, you know what I think it is? I think the game knows that I stream and I'm on stream because I'm using it. I'm telling you, I'm using all platinum crit mods. I'm using the same weapon and she don't crit. I think they want me to get angry on stream because they know I'm streaming. That is my theory. I'm gonna stick to it because I just and I'm yelling at her in the stream like, this bitch is supposed to be normalized. Like I know what I'm doing, So
Eris still gives a lot of people trouble, man. Like it's but there's multiple ways to go about it at this point. I think with Eris, I mean, you can just decap her straight away nowadays too, right? Like because you have like Marcer, you got Abe. Who else do you have? I guess people who use Ruben. I guess can't even work it out.
Yeah, I liked Ruben. I like Ruben because he could rush twice. Set him up, he could go twice. You know what I mean? In the fast.
The follow up too. But I think he gives crosshairs. I can't remember. I haven't used Ruben.
Yeah, he does.
Ruben was one of those tunes that I think we tested it for like a week as soon as he came out, and then we were like, all right, Abe's out. I was like, screw that. Put Ruben in the back burner. Like, all right, we just bought this.
You know why? Because Decap is, people don't understand. Decap is so important. Like with so much Halo and stuff going on and people reviving and healing over here. Like
I think Halo's like the worst thing that's happened to this game in the past couple of years.
You said Halo, right?
Yeah,
man. It Halo's nuts. But it's almost like it's needed.
They have to extend out the defenses somehow, but at the same time,
that's true. Yep.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Something to add about Decap. People underestimate how strong Decap is, especially like looking at defenses last walk. Looking at like people running double Outlast on one defense is probably like the worst decision you can ever make in this walk. Like going double Outlast is probably just like asking to be decapped, right? Because I'm not gonna. I might get into details, whatever. Like my approach with it, if you have double decap on your attack, you can really decap both and use Ape's Rush on someone else. You pretty much kill 3 turn 1. Yes, I know this is probably too much information. My ex faction mates might kill me. That's sorry.
Fine. That's fine.
But
don't worry. We have a couple of them in VD now.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone should know about this. Like if you run a command with your double decap, you pretty much can take 3 or 4 turn 1. It depends on your last tune. So I think that was probably one of the most shocking defenses ideas I have seen. I think BB and Bayou had it, and the rest I only cared about those two really. So it was really interesting to see how people really missed on that idea. I really had I had 0 Outlast beside James, but James is like the only exception, right? He's that tanky that he might tank a little bit, especially with the meme resist mod.
Oh
He he
yeah,
he
James
doesn't
is
die
very
from it.
good. Yeah, he was very good, and I don't know what it is. Some people give Decap resist too as well. So like if you pair him properly, that Decap resist like will come in those first, I think first 2 or 3 turns. It was something like that. Somebody gives Decap resistance. I forgot who it was.
I remember on top of my head, I can't remember think of Spencer, but
Yeah,
I really can't remember
yeah.
any of the tunes now. But yeah, I think decap is pretty viable approach to Outlast
Hmm.
at the moment because especially Ape's Kit helps you kill 2 turn 1. You don't need to because with Eris, it technically it's gonna be always like a turn 2 unless you normalize, right? So you might as well take the best team for it, wait for turn 2 played out.
Hmm. And
Because
then destroy them.
yeah, it's not about speed. It's always about consistency.
Yeah,
Because I know people who might one turn defense is really quick, but fail at the better defenses against the better defenses, which really doesn't
yeah.
help the faction as a whole. Because you're just gonna move on to the next camp, one turn it, someone else gonna do it. You're missing on everything now. So yeah, consistency is pretty much the key at the moment.
Yeah, like you were saying with the Eris team, right? Like if you miss, if she's not normalized turn 1 and you still try to go for the kill, you know what I mean? That turn 1 defense, if you just waited an extra turn, you could take them out turn 2. Now that turns into 7 turns. You know what I mean? Now you're in a loop. Now you're getting caught in these crazy loops. You know what I mean? I know that happens for, I don't know about you guys, but like for the mid and lower tier levels that players I play with, and some of the mid tier ones as well that reach out to me about teams and stuff. You get caught in that loop. It becomes treacherous. So
I mean, I
Decap versus Outlast is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle though, right? Like RTS itself is a puzzle always, right? So, and it's always going to be a puzzle. Like when whoever designs this tunes, like now it's Link, prior to Link, whoever was like, and then whoever's going to be in the future. The whole point with all these games is they push out this tunes that gives you trouble. So like when you're it's basically causing a problem essentially, right? So it's disrupting what your normal thought process is or what you're comfortable with. And then once you get uncomfortable, you're like, all right, screw this. I need to get the new tune, right? Because I gotta get the new power creep tune to overcome this whatever they put out now. And then you get the new power creep tune, and then and then they counter that one, and then it's a cycle. It's like a endless cycle of like countering each thing and going about it, right? So yeah, just as long as you solve that puzzle, right? And you have all these tools in your toolbox, I guess that's like the best way to put it, to solve like the puzzle pieces.
Mhm.
If you can, as long as you can solve the puzzle, you're good to go. I think Decap, now that they put out Mercer and A, for instance, those are 2 big key pieces of the puzzle for a lot of teams. I mean, Danny was like a big solution to like a lot of defenses that we saw, like that kind of like just like smash like the last 2 years of like defenses with like Danny, and then they had to put out all these newer tunes. So yeah, I think it's just maybe you get a lot more decap resist, maybe some leaders with decap resist down the line. I don't know. I'm just guessing to counter the decap stuff that's gonna go happen on right now. So
Mhm.
who knows? But yeah, it's just one of those things that they'll keep pushing the counters out, and you got to just count. You got to counter their counters, I guess. If that's the whole, that's even a word.
Yeah. And that layer has been added, which is what I think makes the game
Yeah.
fun. Because the game was so linear.
Yeah,
Me personally, like with the last character developer, and I think that's something that Link brought to the table as far as diversity. But that's because, like, before Link
yeah.
came on that side, like she was a top free to play player. Like she used to make the wickedest free to play fucking teams, and I'm like, how's she winning with these teams? You know what I mean? So
I
she has a
mean,
very in depth knowledge of how the game works. You could tell because these characters are complex. They're very frustrating, but there's still ways around them, and I like that dynamic.
yeah. I mean, I'd have to give like Link. Like I remember I played you with Link, and when transfers opened up, I think one of the regions I took walkers to, she was there. I can't remember the name of the region right now, but she was in one of the factions there at the time. I think Twilight Princess was like her faction at the time.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
she was a free-to-play, and I remember someone telling me like, oh, she has a YouTube. So I went and checked out her YouTube, and this is like before she blew up. Like she didn't really have many subscribers or whatever.
Mhm.
And I went and checked out her videos, and like I was so impressed with like the way
She
she
was
went about
kicking
attacking.
ass, yo.
Yeah, like the way she broke down the tunes. Like I learned so much from her. And like I had been playing this game at a top level like prior to that, up until that point. Like this was like maybe 6-star era or whatever. And I was like, and I remember reaching out to her, like I was messaging her, and I'm like I'm so impressed by like the way you're breaking this stuff down. And like we had like a really good chat about it. And I'm like what you're doing is gonna help so many players, right? Because it's like if I am learning a lot, like, and I thought I knew at that point in time a good grasp of the game, and I'm still like I'm learning from like someone who's like completely free to play, using free to play tunes like properly. Like obviously you're gonna help out so many other players, like like that's gonna learn all these tips and tricks and stuff. And lo and behold, like Scopely found the gem, like and her like Scopely realized like, oh my god, like like if a player can break down defenses or like whatever you put out as a free to play, then why would people go and buy tunes, right? So it's like they basically offered her a job, like, and that's basically what tells you like how good of a player she was, right? Yeah, like like you basically like when you're doing such a good job at like as a free to play that like the company has to go get you and like work for you and like be like, all right, start designing our tunes and stuff like that's it. Like you beat in the game, like you basically beat the game at that point, right? And I mean, like she's probably one of the smartest people I've met in this game, and like just the way she approaches everything, like I think like you can see like the tunes, like if you go back, like I mean most of us played since like 5-star, 6-star,
Yes.
Mythics, right? Like the game, like you said, was very, very linear. Like like 5-star was just like very basic, like there's nothing to it. Like they added in the mods and stuff, right? And then they added in the weapons, like the armory came out, 4-star weapons. You got 5 stars, then you got 5 stars near the end of like 6-star S-class era, like right when S-class eras was starting, you got the 5-star armory. Like certain things got added on, and then like you had like the active skills became more of a thing. Well, signature skills, now active skills. And then now like with the mythics, you got all these abilities that are like cooked into the tunes. So for anyone who hasn't played, say like for example from like 6-star days or like even like S-class days, and they come back to this game now and they're like, what's going on, right? Like it's like there's all this new stuff that I gotta learn, right? And it's just like I think it opened the possibilities for Scopely in itself and Link in itself, that they can add in so much stuff into the tunes, right? Like with the abilities, like because like there's just so many things that they can add on that just makes the tune so much better, more difficult, as like more fun, I guess, overall. Like just to like team build, which was never possible in like like the previous eras prior to this. So yeah, I mean, it just goes to show she is crazy good at her job, and
she is, and I wish they would appreciate. See, and this is why I constantly say this. Like, for those of us who are active in the game, we appreciate what she's doing because
no, for sure.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we understand the magnitude. Her putting those characters together like that opened up the game so much, because before it was just like power creep them, give them one thing, make them stronger, and that becomes boring, but now it's like a dynamic. Like, imagine being able to go imagine just thinking like, you know what? Damn, this new tune is here, but I can go back and use Dale now. You know what I mean? Like, you can go back and start reusing older tunes and bringing them. The dynamic is so beautiful, man. It really is.
And I think you have to basically like let's just put this out there, like as a basic question, right? If someone were to ask, like if Link were to come out today and say like, make me like tells every faction, make me one tune. How many people in this game is actually capable of making a tune that's actually good?
I'm not gonna be honest, not many, bro.
Like not many, like because you have to really think about like how it all fits into the pieces, right? Because it's not just one tune. Like you said, you mentioned Dale. Like there's a lot of tunes that you can go back and like you have to see like what if there's any like if it works with like the previous whatever that she's put out there, right? Or whatever she made.
You gotta remember all this stuff you've done too in the past, like.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta see how it all fits together, right? And I don't think there's many people in this game. Like, if Scopely were to challenge someone, be like, put out a tune right now, like, like make something new. How many people actually has the mental capability to like actually make something that's workable and good, that's gonna last, like a really good tune, right? Because even like, let's be honest, like even Link at some period of time, like a lot of tunes that she's put out hasn't been that good, but like majority of them have been bangers, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some tunes that are like, man, like you don't really find good use for it, and obviously not every tune's gonna be crazy overpowered,
Yeah, that's true.
whatever, like if it's like a Gold Rush tune or whatever, like like something that they're giving out for free, obviously they're not gonna make it crazy power creep, but you can't constantly have crazy power creep either, because like where do you go from here? Like if it's constantly power creep.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, that's the challenge, right? Like making tunes, designing tunes is a big challenge, especially in this game, in my opinion. I don't think many players can do it, even if they got asked to, or even they got paid to do it. Like I don't think many people could.
Yeah,
So
and that's the
so
thing. Like,
it's just the crazy thing about Link, like I think she is the secret sauce for the RTS tunes. Yeah.
definitely, and a little bit, like when tunes are made and stuff like that. A lot of times, as content creators, we get to get some insight on the tunes and when
Yeah.
they're coming out and everything, and have conversations. Man, I've sat and had 5-hour conversations about tunes, and I'm not saying anything. I'm literally just listening to her beautiful mind talk about the tune, and like, oh, text, this is how this is gonna work, and this is how this plays into it, and remember this guy, like, but and to hear that passion, like, is unmatched, man, because like she really loves what she's doing, and
Yeah,
like you
I
said, some
agree.
tunes are gonna be good, and some, I mean, be honest with you, what game have you ever played everything was good? Like, come on, man. Like, you're
Right,
gonna have
exactly.
those hit and miss, but like when she hits, she hits. For example, I remember the conversation
I
about
mean, you
Eva
have
and
like,
Ghost. I was
yeah,
like, they gonna.
yeah,
I told her, I was like, that's gonna be a banger. I think this gonna be really good. And lo and behold, Eva and Ghost is a fucking monster. Like, six
yeah,
months later, she's still one of the top tunes in the game because she's very good. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
that's the thing, man. Like, having that, and that's what we love about RTS. That's the part that we love. That intuitiveness, getting into the root, understanding how the game works, the mechanics and stuff like that. That's why we're so addicted. That's why we keep coming back, because it's like, oh, what team would this tune work in? And is this a direct counter to this? And it's just beautiful, man. But shout out to Link for sure, because she is definitely the catalyst that's keeping RTS afloat when it
I don't know
comes
if
to her
I
ideas
don't
with tunes, bro. Like, cause she is a fucking beast, man. Just period.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Link is the GOAT. I don't know if you've kept track of like how many mythics have come out. I remember someone
Yeah, I got
mentioned
him
in
on a
like Ryan.
spreadsheet. Magic Meow got him on a spreadsheet. It's like
Okay.
171 right now. It's fucking
No,
ridiculous.
we passed 200. We passed
We
200
did?
for
Hold on,
sure.
wait. Yeah, we
I think we
did.
passed. I think we passed 200 because I remember
Yeah.
someone mentioned it in the line chat. So I
Yeah,
just want to say,
I
like,
haven't looked.
if you think about it, all of Mythic era, I think 200 tunes, more or less, or over 200. That's a lot of tunes to put out, man. Like that's like, and she's still going hard, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
And
like,
and the
what game
variations
have
is
you
different.
played?
You see what I'm saying?
What
Like,
game have you played that has that many tunes? Like only thing I can
none.
think of is like Pokemon. That's it. And I'm pretty sure when they
None.
make Pokemon, there's like at least 20 people who designs those Pokemons and like do
Yeah.
something, and it's just Link doing it all herself.
Yo,
So
but Pokemon been out 1,000 years though. Like, Link
yeah,
is doing it by herself, designing
yeah,
these. Yo, man, kudos. And like I said, I have a personal interest because that's my girl. Like, she's a really good person, and she
yep.
really loves RTS, bro. She really loves the community. So she is
Mhm.
hard at work with the tunes. 200 tunes, many different variations, and you know what? You can't say that one tune is just like the other one because there's just a small nuance in the other tune that makes it tick a little bit different than the other one. Before, when they were designing tunes, it was like, okay, we have a Zachary already. We had him already at the 5-star era. Remember, he made 5 people bleed, and you just put like 3 Zacharys on the team, and or 5 of them on the
Yeah,
team, and
for
you just
sure.
bleed
Yeah,
the team down, right? We had
yeah.
that, and then Zachary comes out in the Mythic era. It's like we had that, but then it's like, you get a tune like Yuletide Ezekiel, right? And then you get another tune like Eva and Ghost. And then this new tune that just came out, Betsy, for 4th of July. Like, those are 3 normalized tunes, but guess what? They all have unique traits and they all work against certain teams differently. Like, to be able to come up with that, to be able to design that, and to remember, because Yuletide Ezekiel's almost 2 years old. Like, being able to have that pathway is remarkable, bro. I'd have been
Yeah, I
messed
agree.
up. I ain't gonna lie. I'd have been messed that shit up. They'd have fired me. I'd have been like, they'd have been like, Tex, man, you got 5 Mercers doing the same thing. I'm like, damn, bro, do I, man? I didn't think so. ADHD kicking.
Get fired on your day off, man.
So yeah, man. But this has been good, man. It has been a great pleasure. I'm playing with you guys. I know you're gonna move on to new games. First Descent. Let's go ahead and look at Once Human coming out the 9th tomorrow. Yeah. Oh yes, I'm about to download that now. It comes out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to Once Human and everything. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll get this podcast out. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you guys, and we got into the meat of some stuff at the end, which is what I was looking forward to. Just hearing the great minds, because one thing we do share is that love and hate relationship for RTS. We love it when we love it, and when we hate it, we want to go away, but it keeps calling us back, man. So,
it was fun. It was fun.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
For the thanks, Tex. It was awesome.
Anytime,
thanks,
bro. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the chat, Tex.
You're welcome. And thank you to the RTS community. Go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Hey, if there's anything else you want me to do, anybody else you want me to interview, let me know, man. Let me know if you guys continue to love the podcast. Peace.